As that video comes out, Chicago wants to make sure there's no gray area in its use of force policy.
They've created a task force of more than 20 residents, activists, community leaders, and lawyers to review and recommend changes.
Know the value of these conversations, and we know that appropriate use of force is more than just a policy. When police use force appropriately, it is a way to build trust within a community. A bad incident not only shatters the trust of a department within a city, but it casts a shadow over law enforcement nationwide.
The group will meet once a week for the next 8 weeks, starting tomorrow. And joining us now live is 29th Ward Alderman Chris Taliaferro, who is on the new use of force working group. Alderman, thank you for joining us. Let's begin with, what do you believe is the most problematic area in the current policy it needs to be high priority to change?
Well, I think, with this work, and Irika, thank you for having me. I think one of the areas in which we definitely have to look at in this use of force policy is the use of deadly force itself, when it should be applied and when it can be applied. And so I look forward to having those discussions on the working group.
And this is a very diverse group. 20 people. I see on the list a priest from North Lawndale, members of several community groups, including Black Lives Matter and Communities United, as well as a professor and attorney from the University of Chicago Law School. So how do you come up with a unified voice with such diversity?
Well, I think that will be a task, and that'll be our responsibility to have a unified voice in making recommendations to the Chicago Police Department. We are looking at broken fidelity within this system, and that's the broken trust that the police department and the community share. And I think this group has a very important mission ahead of itself.
So there are 9 use of force policies that you will be reviewing, one which includes public cooperation. How does this department work to rebuild the years of mistrust, decades, some would say, that have developed in the communities?
It's going to take time, but most important, when there's transparency, accountability, and having the community involved, time will heal, and we will be able to rebuild that trust again.
So you're very optimistic about this group. Your board, though, will offer recommendations. There's no indications at this point that it's mandatory that the city takes your advice. How do you feel the board will have the power to actually create this change?
Well, we also have the independent monitor that will see these recommendations as well. And we do have a mayor that's very, I should, for lack of a better term, use the word excited about the reform and changes that we are going to bring to the city of Chicago. With those, along with the city council that understand the need for reform, I'm very confident that we can bring a department to this city that its residents can be proud of, one that uses use of force in an appropriate manner at an appropriate time.
Well, Alderman Chris Taliaferro, 29th Ward, thank you so much for joining us and for your insights on this group.